And I'm going to kick us off. So first and foremost, welcome to our Affinity Circle. My name is Wendy Perdomo, and I am so excited to be facilitating today on behalf of Developing Capacity Coaching. Thank you for joining us. We've created this healing circle as a time of reflection, of self-care, and as a way of affirming our identities and different identity groups, and just like a sanctuary during a time when there's so much happening in the world. We want you to feel honored. We want you to feel respected. We want you to feel seen and heard. And so for the next 25 minutes, this is about tapping into yourself, right? This is for you. Hopefully, you're going to leave feeling a little bit more rejuvenated and continuing to do and move in whatever purpose you've been called for on this planet. And so we invite you today, right now, into the chat. If you could start telling us your name, even though I've already sort of identified who you are, where you're coming from, and what brought you to the circle. Today's space is dedicated to women of all identities in honor of Women's International Month. So if you could just tell us again where you're from and what brought you to the circle and your name. Welcome, Ayana. Yep. And welcome to Precious. Right. Both of you are here because the work is exhausting. Yes, having time with people of the same identity needs that this work is hard. Absolutely. And I am with you on this journey. So before we move into our circle time, I wanted to set us up with some community norms for our time together. The first is that this is a brave space. It is a space where you can choose whether or not you want to share when we have the opportunity to do so. Again, it's about tapping into yourself and being as brave as you feel comfortable being. It's a space for us to be in a non-judgmental mindset and be thinking about what can I learn about myself? How am I going to be graceful with myself and with others? It is also a space for us to think about possibilities. Who am I as a person? What are the possibilities? If I were to slow down and answer this prompt and begin to think about what does it mean for me to heal myself, right? It is also a space where I can start to think about how do I begin to accept and expect non-closure, realizing that this is, we only have about 25 minutes together. We can't possibly journal everything, right? But we're going to give you something to start with so that you can continue into your practice post being with us. And these reflective questions are going to be thinking about how sometimes we're in a world where people have the best of intentions to love us as DEI leaders, as women of color, but sometimes that doesn't go over so well, right? Part of this process is working through what happens when people with good intentions have negatively impacted us, right? Like, how do we begin to accept what happens and perhaps have some courage so that those individuals can begin to accept the responsibility, but we know we don't have to fix them, right? This is us realizing that intention does not always equal impact. All right. And so as we're in this space together, the four of us, we want to also invite you to embrace confidentiality. This time again is for you, right? And so we ask that you don't share who's in the space with you. We don't record any parts of today's conversation. And in fact, I'm only going to be recording the first 10 minutes because it's part of the protocol. But once I release the reflection questions, I'm going to end the recording. So that way, that gives us an opportunity for us to just be in the space together and for us to reflect on the journal entries in the chat box or however you feel most comfortable being brave in this space. And if you agree to commit to these norms, we would love for you to just drop into the chat that you commit. And again, the last piece is also for us to emphasize that this is the learning space for us. This is an opportunity for us to do mirror work, not for a place for us to judge. So again, I commit. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so I am really excited to talk to you a bit about developing capacity coaching before we jump right in. Our focus and our mission in the world is to expand the capacity of leaders to do good. We believe that when we show people the tools and the strategies to do good, we're going to foster a more compassionate, a more equitable, and just society. So our vision is that no matter what your background is, that you're going to be able to thrive freely on this planet. So we spend a lot of our time developing purpose-driven leaders in our 4 different ways. We work with people to transform their personal leadership, which is what we're doing today with the Affinity Leadership Healing Circle. We work with folks to develop the capacity of their teams so that teams are doing good in this world. We work with folks who say that they are doing work across the organization, right? Making sure we're changing organizational culture. And then we also work with individuals who are seeking to leverage data to make more informed decisions. We are guided by our core values of equity, love, healing, and justice. And today you're going to experience the coach in us. We're going to bring some questions to bear, right, that are going to support you, and you're going to learn some data about yourself. And this is a data that's going to help you show up in a much more loving and affirmative way as it relates to your identity. So these questions we consider the blueprint for our coaching. And so we're going to give you these questions in a short moment, and that'll start the process, right? But as I said earlier, this is an opportunity for you to continue this journey long after you're not with us on these 30 minutes. This is one of my favorite quotes. And we start with Audre Lorde because we think it is really important for us to care for ourselves. And we say, caring for myself, we are in solidarity with Audre Lorde, is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. If you have not had an opportunity to engage with the work of this activist, we highly encourage you to read it. And we put it here because we want you to take these 30 minutes to take care of yourself. It is definitely not a self-indulgence. This is the time that you deserve, that we deserve. And it is a time about self-preservation during a time in a world when there's a lot happening, right? Like some of what you mentioned at the top of the chat, it's exhausting. We're in a grind culture, we're in a hustle culture, we're in a do more to the point of exhaustion. So it really is an act of political warfare for you to say, I'm not going to do whatever it is might be tugging at you for the next 30 minutes. We invite you to remove anything from your mind that might be saying to you, I should be doing something else, right? Like sometimes those inner critics, they pesky ones, they come at us and they try to pull us away from this moment. So we want to give yourself permission to be, not to have to worry about multitasking. This is a gift to you, and we promise you that you will not regret it. So now we are going to start with our first question prompt. And I'm going to read the first of the 2 reflective questions to you. The first question is, I would like for you to individually reflect upon, how am I currently using my power to unapologetically own my identity, my brilliance, and my expertise? When we think about our Affinity Leadership Circle, we created them because of our beautiful, rich tapestry of diversity, of identities that makes the world beautiful. As we go through these 12 months, we have a different affinity group that we are celebrating, right? And we want you to unapologetically own And that's the question that we're posing to you right now. How are you unapologetically owning that identity, that brilliance, that expertise? How are you currently using your power? We want you to think about how are you using your mindsets, your emotions, your behaviors on any given day? How are you using your own way of being to show up? Your identity as a woman. We want you to think about how are you owning your identity if you self-identify as a woman of color? How are you owning that brilliance, that knowledge that you have as a person who's lived on this earth, right? That shapes your perspectives as a woman. How do you own the expertise, which is that knowledge that you've gained as a result of being a woman, right? So we look at this from these three ways, right, in our coaching practice. And we tell folks you have to be unapologetic about your identity, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. So you've got your own brilliance that you have lived through and that you have amassed from being on this earth. And it is not necessarily equated to a degree, right? It's innate to the expertise that you have, somehow created throughout the time and the experiences that you had. So go ahead and take a moment and let us know how you're currently using your power. And we want you to be honest. And I'm going to call forth the norm again of non-judgment, because if you're also feeling like you're in a place of self-doubt, that sometimes you could be hiding given what's happening with the state of the world with DEI, that's okay. You can write that too. This is not a place for you to be anybody other than owning however that's showing up for you in this moment. So I'm going to, as I said earlier, I'm going to stop the recording to allow you a moment to, let's make sure I can stop the recording as I pull up so that you can go ahead and start to reflect your comments.